on Videos for you back again for Trick Taking Thursday, the first ever Trick Taking Thursday where we look at how to play trick taking games, and I decided to start off with this one, Claim, which is a game from White Goblin Games, designed by Scott Elms. I believe he also did the art. I could be wrong. Oh, crap. Actually, the art is by Mihalu Dimitrievsky. Very good. It's very nice artwork. And this game is a trick-taking game for 2 players. It came out in 2017 originally. I think this is from 2022, this version. I could be wrong. But it's basically the same thing. There are multiple versions of the game, including Claim 2, Claim Kingdoms. There's also a Claim Anniversary Edition, which combines 1 and 2, which I would have liked to have gotten, but I never haven't as of yet, but maybe one day. And there's all sorts of reinforcements and expansion packs. The game is all about different factions that are trying to gain control. And they also have different powers for each one. Now, look at the back of the box here. It says here that the king is dead without any known heirs. So it's up to the 5 factions of the realm to decide who will be the new king. It will be you or your opponent, and you have to gather followers among all factions to claim the throne. So it's almost like Game of Thrones, if you will. Except there's 5 kingdoms instead of 7, so to speak. Anyway, it's a cool game. Well, basically, you're going to be playing 2 phases. In the first phase, you're going to be winning cards to form your hand for the second phase, and then in the second phase you're simply going to be trying to win tricks to score to get the most cards in at least 3 factions. So if you have the most cards in any of these 3 factions, at least 3 factions, at the end of the game you take control. Each one, basically, if you have the most of, say, goblins and knights and dwarves, they each basically get a vote. Majority rules, so 3 or more, and you win the game. You take control. So, let's talk about the kind of abilities of each card. So the goblins, I'll show you here, that's these guys right here, they have no special powers. The knights, these guys right here. If I were to play a goblin into a trick, and then, or my opponent plays a goblin into a trick and I cannot follow, and I play a knight, the knight will trumpet. That's the power of the knight. If played after a goblin, it will beat the goblin, irregardless of the value. The undead only have a power in phase 1, and the power, which is, this is the undead, the purple cards, with a claw and a skull, the skeleton. The undead, during phase 1, when they're played, instead of being discarded into the discard pile, they will be added to that winner's score pile. So whoever wins the trick would put this in their score pile and get that faction, basically, in their hand for the end of the game. The dwarves, that's these guys right here. With the axe, they only have a power in the second phase, and whoever loses the trick in the second phase will collect all the dwarves and add them to the score pile. So if this was there, they would collect this, put it into the score pile. And then we have these guys right here, creepy looking. These are the doppelgangers, and the doppelgangers can be played at any time instead of the asked suit. So in general, if I play this goblin, you have to follow and play a goblin. However, if you play whatever, maybe they play a 7, I can play this at any time and beat it. So generally it's must follow, except for the doppelgangers, who basically can copy anyone and be played at any time. So the way the game's going to work is you're going to shuffle the cards. Each player is going to get 13. then you will determine a start player however you want. I believe they say maybe the youngest player. It does say the first, you can just choose a start player or it can be the youngest player. And what you're going to do is you're going to flip over the top card from the deck, and this is the card we're playing for in this phase. So let's say I am the start player. Maybe I lead with this doppelganger. Now my opponent has to follow with a doppelganger, and so they will. They play a 4. Highest card of the suit led wins. Had they not been able to follow and they just played, let's say, a 0 in a goblin, then highest card of the suit led wins. But in this case, they have to follow. So I would win. These cards get discarded. I get to take this card, put it into my followers for next round. And I don't know how I got 2 hands here. And my opponent would get this card, and they can look at it. Ooh, it's a 0, but they add it to their hand. The value doesn't matter too much, I guess. Well, it does, but it doesn't. But that's the first phase. And then we'll flip over another card. I would lead. Maybe I don't really care about the 0, so I'll play a 0. And then my opponent's going to go, and we have to remember the abilities as well of certain cards, like the dwarves here, only affect the second phase. If it was the second phase and I lost, and let's say my opponent follows, I would collect both of them. But in this case, it's the first phase, so they would win. And you get discarded, and they would take this card, and I would get this one. Eventually, you're going to end up with a hand of 13 cards, and you hand 13 cards. For the second phase. And again, in the first phase, if you win with an undead card, you would add it to your score pile. So I'll just say, let me see if I can find some undeads. There's undeads. So maybe I would put these in my score pile, and then maybe my opponent would have these in their score pile, and then maybe I have this one, and they have this one. However it plays out. That's in the first phase. So again, in the first phase with these undead cards, instead of discarding them, they go to whoever wins the trick. In the second phase, we're not playing for any cards. You're just going to be playing tricks. So maybe I lead with this 8 goblin. My opponent has to follow. So they will play a 9, and they win the trick, and they collect these 2 and put them in their score pile. Then they would get the lead. And again, there's one ability that takes place in the second phase, that is the dwarves. So, you know, maybe they played this dwarf for whatever reason. Then I would have to follow, and whoever loses, sorry, that's a goblin. My apologies. The dwarf was the axle. Sorry. So maybe they played this dwarf for whatever reason, and then I would have to follow. So I will. And in this phase, whoever loses the trick will collect the dwarves played and add them to the score pile. So they would take these cards. So they played wisely. I do win the trick, but they win the cards. This is not great. Outside of that, everything kind of plays the same. Knights will trump a goblin if they're played after the goblin. Doppelgangers can copy anyone and can be played instead of the asked suit. Let's just say I play this one, and they will follow, and they will play. Let's just get rid of a 1. I win. And at the end of the game, you're going to have a bunch of cards here. And there might be different amounts because you're going to have some that you're going to collect in the first round and the second round, even if you don't win the tricks, or if you do win the tricks. And then you're going to sort them out by type here. So let's just see how this works out for us. And my opponent's going to do the same thing. And so, what you're going to do is you're going to go by type. So let's say we start off with goblins. And you can see who has the most goblins. I have 4. They have 4. So in the event of a tie like this, you're going to see who has the highest valued one, and they win the vote. So we can discard these. Then we move on. We can do the next one. Let's do the knights. They have 2. I have 2. We have a tie again. I have the highest value one, so I win that vote. You're trying to see who can win the majority of the votes. Then we have the undead. The purple ones, they have 6. And I have 4, so they win that vote. We'll just give them a card. Then let's move on to the dwarves. I have 1. They have 2. So they win that vote. So they win, basically. We don't even care about this one, but I would win this vote because I have the most. By this point, it doesn't even matter. Whoever gets at least 3 votes wins the game. That's what it's all about, claim. It's a simple trick-taking game. Must follow rules. In the first phase, you're trying to win followers that you will play in the second phase. And in the second phase, you're just trying to win tricks, trying to get as many of these cards on your side. Whoever has the most cards of each faction or suit wins that suit, and whoever wins at least 3 factions or suits wins the game. So that is it. It's a really cool game. I really like it. So I wanted to share it with you today, and that is Claim. It doesn't matter which version you play, they all play the same, whether it's 1 or 2 Kingdoms, the Anniversary Edition, and so forth. And again, you can get expansions with different factions, so maybe you take out the goblins and put into something else if you want. So that is that. Comment, like, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.